You're moving to Kansas City and you don't know a single thing about the area. This video is going to explain the entire metro area to you. If you stick around until the end, I will go through all different price points from $100,000 to $1 million and give you personalized recommendations of where you should be looking to buy a house in Kansas City. Okay, so we're starting zoomed way out of the Kansas City area, and what I'm going to do first is I'm going to describe some of the things around Kansas City and then zoom into Kansas City proper to make sure that you know everything around here. So let's start. When you're first coming to Kansas City, a lot of people believe Kansas City is in Kansas. Well, that makes the most sense, right? But you would be wrong. Most of Kansas City, especially Kansas City that people refer to, the big Kansas City is in Missouri. Now, if you're coming from a state like where I came from in Los Angeles, California, we're only used to like bordering just a handful of states. But when you live in Missouri, which we do now, you border a ton of states. You've got Arkansas to the bottom, Tennessee, Kentucky, you've got Illinois, you've got Iowa to the top, Nebraska to the side, and then of course Kansas here. You even got a tip of Oklahoma that you're bordering. Missouri touches 8 different states, which is a record. I think it's tied for Tennessee as the record of most states touched. So when you're coming to Kansas City, most people are talking about Kansas City, Missouri, but there also is a Kansas City, Kansas. It's not showing up here, but when you zoom way in, there's another Kansas City that you can now see is highlighted in red, and this is on the Kansas side. Now, if you go to Kansas and you drive out here, you're getting into Topeka, you drive all the way through, you can get into Colorado, Nebraska, obviously, Oklahoma. Kansas does not border as many states as Missouri because it's not as funny shaped. It's just a box, it's just a square. But you have 2 Kansas cities, Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. So here's Kansas City, Kansas, the red part, all in Kansas. And then here is the red part here is Kansas City, Missouri. Now, when you look at the Kansas City metro area, you might say, what does that mean? I wouldn't include St. Joe as part of the KC metro area. I would say St. Joe is its own area. I would also say, though, even though Lawrence is closer, Lawrence is its own area. Because there's no large city except for Columbia all the way out by the 70, I would say the metro spans a little bit farther out. I think people in Odessa would still consider themselves in the Kansas City metro because they're a lot closer to Kansas City than they are Columbia. Now, going to the south, I think once you start getting out to like Harrisonville, maybe even Butler, you're getting out of the metro area. And then over here, like I said before, Lawrence is its own area. So here, Tonganoxie, Basehor, I would say they could be either way. Tonganoxie is closer to Lawrence, but a lot of people in Tonganoxie would still consider themselves as part of the Kansas City metro area. So with a lot of these definitions, I know a lot of people can quibble about what exactly is the metro, but if you come and look, the metro area is right about here, and it is expanding pretty rapidly. So I'm going to draw just a little bit here and show you what I would probably consider the metro area. So I would say include Leavenworth in here, Tonganoxie, not Lawrence, definitely Olathe. We're going down to Spring Hill, going to include Harrisonville, and then kind of Odessa, and then even like Lawson up here. I would say it's probably that circle, cutting it a little bit shorter here because Lawrence, again, is its own area. It's the home of KU, so they've got a lot going on there. Topeka is its own area. I would not say that these areas are considered part of the Kansas City metro. So if you're looking to move to Kansas City, then this is the area that I would say in general you're looking to move to. Butler's too far out. Clinton's really far out. Warrensburg is right on the tip. You might include that as well because, again, to the east, there's not that many cities. The closest large city is Columbia out here. Everybody here can either consider themselves as part of Kansas City or as part of Columbia. It's really up to the person. But again, I'm using a lot of Google definitions because I think that the metro area can be debated as far as where it ends. I would say St. Joe is not. Atchison's like right on the border, maybe. So when you're talking about the KC metro area, this is primarily the area that I'm talking about. So I'm going to spend just, a couple minutes talking about these areas outside. St. Joe is its own town. I have served clients in St. Joe, been up to St. Joe. If you want to move to St. Joe, then that's a separate place. Even Chillicothe, this is a home of sliced bread. if you didn't know that, that's definitely its own place. Gallatin's way up there. And then if you come down here, I've been as far down as Joplin before, but this is definitely not Kansas City anymore. I have some friends that are from Pittsburgh, Kansas. That's about 2 hours away. I would say that's too far. I would say just an hour kind of radius. So let's zoom in and let's talk about the main Kansas City. So we're talking about Kansas City, Missouri. This is the biggest part of Kansas City. This is the biggest Kansas City, about 500,000 people. So one thing you might notice here is that this is definitely not a straightforward looking city. So you see here, there are places that are completely surrounded by Kansas City that are not Kansas City. I just put an X through Gladstone. That's not Kansas City. I just put an X through Raytown. That's not Kansas City. Down here, Grandview. That is a completely separate city. These are not Kansas City. This right here, this place right here, this is North Kansas City, which is super confusing. So when you talk about North Kansas City, that's an actual location area in the metro where you can live. So you can have a North Kansas City address and not be in Kansas City. I know, super confusing, but when you say North Kansas City, you'll also hear people talk about the Northland, not to be confused with the Northland. So if you follow this border here, this is the Kansas and Missouri border. I'm not drawing it very well, but you can see it snakes along here, and this is the Missouri River, okay? So everything in purple, I would say everything above here, going up to Kearney, going up to Smithville, going up to Platte City, not including Leavenworth, everything on the Missouri side, this is all the Northland. If somebody says, hey, I'm a Northlander, they might talk about they're living in Liberty, they're living in Gladstone, they might be living in Weatherby Lake, Parkville, all of this area. Platte City, I would include Smithville, maybe Kearney. Kearney's a little bit far out there. Typically, when people describe the Northland, they're talking, limits Liberty, but they can include places like even Excelsior Springs and Mosby. That's the problem with it, is that there's no like set terms that everybody has agreed upon to talk about. So let's start there in the Northland. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, so we're up here in the Northland, and let's take a look at some of these areas right here. You have North Kansas City. Like I said before, it's a very small town, probably no more than 5,000 people who live here. But North Kansas City has its own cool little downtown area. We're going to zoom in a little bit, see if we can get a better view of that. Right here is Armour Road, runs right down North Kansas City. It's got a great kind of theater area. We actually used to go to church here. The Rabbit Hole is a new kind of attraction that's in North Kansas City. Mackin Park is also in North Kansas City, but you don't have too many places to live in North Kansas City. If you're going to live there, you've only got like this section right here to live in. So houses in North Kansas City are not necessarily going to be plentiful. It's an attractive area because you can see exactly where you are. You're like right near downtown Kansas City, but also in the Northland, you get the cool Northland schools and everything like that too. So that's a great area. Worlds of Fun is over here. This is a theme park. If you haven't been there, or if you never heard of it, this is the largest theme park in the area. It's got roller coasters. We haven't taken our kids there personally because right now my kids are 4, 2, and 2 months, and I don't think they would get a bunch of joy out of that right now. So we just haven't done it. Clay Como is also another area that you can see is not quite Kansas City. It's an area that's completely surrounded by Kansas City. The big thing in Clay Como is the Ford plant employs a ton of people up in the Northland here. And now if you go out here, Liberty is a very, very attractive area that has been growing quite a bit. You can see it's pretty large, abuts to Clay Como here. And here's another weird area, Glen Eyre. I've actually never sold a house there, driven through there a couple times, but don't know much about it. But Liberty has, great schools. It's got, you've got some areas where if you get all the way out here in Liberty, I just sold a house out here, even closer to Mosby, and you can get 3 or 4 acres. I think my client got about 3.5 acres on a pretty well-maintained house for about $350,000. So that's exactly what he was paying. Now let's move up here. Kearney is a super fast growing area. Kearney is what they call the new Liberty because everything in the metro area is pushing out. So they're building more, the more people are coming in, they're needing to build a lot more. And so Kearney is growing to be an attractive area, and Kearney will soon be probably what Liberty was 5, 10, 15 years ago. Excelsior Springs, it's mostly known for the Elms Hotel. It's got a quaint, fun little downtown area. It's not as attractive in terms of just looking at like raw data of the housing prices there. It's not as attractive as a Kearney, simply because Kearney is a lot more accessible. You have the 35, and I apologize because a lot of people will call me out on this. I'm from California. We call our freeways, the this or the 210 or the 605. And old habits die hard. So if I'm just talking off the cuff here, I'll probably call a freeway the 35. A lot of people here call it, I-35, Interstate 35, whatever. So if my, Freudian, my old 30 years of living in Los Angeles kind of slip out, I apologize. I'm not trying to, I apologize. So coming up here, that's Kearney. Lawson is way out here. I would say Lawson's probably like the edge of the metro. If anybody else considers, I don't think anybody who lives out here would consider themselves in Kansas City, but Lawson is probably like the edge. Here you have Smithville. Smithville is a great, attractive town that's right along Smithville Lake. You have a really kind of beautiful area. Let's just zoom in and see kind of what Smithville Lake has to offer. Drop in here and take a look. So you've got a beach. You can see a lot of people playing. You've got this person smoking a cigarette there, but picnics along Smithville Lake. Obviously, this isn't like the perfect kind of view here, but this is just one of the largest relaxation areas in KC. It's also one of the more attractive areas in which you can live. So there's a ton of houses out here in Smithville, a ton of playgrounds, great school district. As well. So Smithville is going to be a little bit out there though. So when you talk about Smithville, you are probably, I would say, you can shoot down 169 and come all the way into the city in about 20-25 minutes if there's no traffic. If there is traffic, maybe 30 minutes. So you're not way out there, but you are a little bit out there. Okay. So here's the airport. We just got a brand new airport, Kansas City International Airport. It's one of the newest in America, built, I think, opened in April of 2023. So brand new airport, brings a lot of people. A lot of people have traveled through it and ranked it as one of the most efficient airports in the United States. Beside here, you have Platte City, Weston. Again, this is kind of what I would consider the edge of the metro. I don't think anybody farther out than this really considers himself in Kansas City. Over here, you have Atchison, but that's in Kansas, and we'll get to that when we get to the Kansas side. So Platte City is going to be where you kind of want to land if you have a job at the airport. You can live out there, be, a very short trip, maybe 10-15 minutes to the airport. Had a couple of clients looking in that area because they got new jobs at the airport. Okay, let's cover the rest of the Northland here. Weatherby Lake is a kind of prestigious lakeside community here. You and when I say prestigious, you may be thinking, hey, like $1 million plus houses, and there are some $1 million plus houses on Weatherby Lake. But you can get into Weatherby Lake for probably $550,000 if that's something that you want, okay? So here, Lake Wacomas, very similar to Weatherby Lake, not as prestigious, but just another lake in the Northland. And then coming over here, you have Parkville. Okay, Parkville is a super popular area. You have English Landing Park, one of the coolest parks in the metro that basically you have a river walk right here. Park University. I've heard mixed reviews on Park University. I don't know personally if it's like a good school, if it's a bad school, but what I have heard is that what I do know for sure is that it's a beautiful campus. It's a completely, absolutely gorgeous campus. I have a couple of clients that have moved into Riss Lake community here. Nobody's living like right on Riss Lake as far as I know, but you have houses in here that are easily $600,000-$700,000. It's a really sought after, desirable community. And then over here, a lot of Parkville is going to be just farmland. And if we come over here, let's get into the Northland here. Houston Lake. I actually almost bought a house on Houston Lake. Actually, one of my regrets. I wish I would have pulled the trigger on that and made a more competitive offer on this house in Houston Lake. Almost moved my family out there. Riverside is just probably a town of probably 7,000 people, most of them living right here. Another attractive area, although there are a lot more floodplains in Riverside than Parkville. So Parkville, Riverside, all of these areas are going to have really close access to North Kansas City and downtown Kansas City that we'll get to in just a little bit, and also be located in the Northland. Gladstone is my old stomping grounds. I used to live in Gladstone. Our first house was in Gladstone. It's a very funny shape. So once you're driving on the 29, you're in Parkville for like, 2 seconds, and then you drive right through. So it's kind of a weird type of area there, Parkville. Okay, so let's move down to the rest of Kansas City. Now, when we're looking at the Northland is kind of divided. It's not quite at the 169, but if you can think of the 169 as dividing two counties as Clay County and Platte County. So 169, it's actually the actual border is a little bit to the east of 169, but I'm just giving you a rough area. So like this area here is Clay County. So this is not an super accurate map. And then this area here is Platte County, okay? And then down here is the rest of Kansas City. Anything below the river, this is all Jackson County, okay? So we're going to go down to Kansas City in Jackson County, and yeah, just check out what we can see. So anything down here in KC is Jackson County. Anything that's highlighted, including Lee Summit that we're going to get to, Raytown, all of this is all Jackson County. Now, when we get in here, you can see that downtown Kansas City is all located south of the river. It's right when you get across this bridge here. This is Bar K, is a really cool dog park restaurant where you can go, and they actually only charge you for your dog. So if you go there as a person, you can just get in and just pet a bunch of dogs and eat a bunch of food. But if you go there with your dog, they charge you, I think it's like $10 to let your dog in. Berkeley Riverfront is a nice kind of riverfront walk right here, and in this photo, it's not updated yet, but this is a Christopher Bond Bridge that a lot of people will cross as they drive down I-29, and then this stadium in which this picture is in construction, this is CPKC Stadium. This is the home of the Kansas City Current. This is actually the first and only stadium that is a women's only MLS stadium. So this is like no other team other than the KC Current will be playing at the stadium. Here you have a casino. It used to be designed like a riverboat, but now I think it's a Bally's or Bailey's, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, casino here. So if you want to gamble, there's a few casinos that you can do that. And then these are really trendy kind of apartments here, and you're getting into the river market. So let's look at the river market here. The Arabia Steamboat Museum, this marks the river market. These awnings and pavilions, this is where a lot of people will go to, especially over the weekend, to go get their, it's a farmer's market, basically. It's a really cool farmer's market. I would highly recommend doing one of these things. If you're here over a weekend, come to City Market over the weekend. You'll meet a ton of people. You'll go out there, you'll get a bunch of, locally produced stuff. If you like Asian food, like I grew up eating Asian food, this is the Chinatown Market, and this is one of the most centrally located food markets if you want really good Asian food. Just throwing out there for all my Asian food enjoyers who are watching this right now. Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit, and then now we can see we're getting into downtown. So you've got City Hall down here. You've also got a lot of other buildings where business and commerce happen. Of course, you got hotels. Let me point out a few kind of striking things here. This is Bartle Hall. These are the Bartle Hall sky structures. So that's going to be very eye-catching when you're driving through Kansas City. Okay, so right next to the T-Mobile Center. So this is the T-Mobile Center. If you're going to come for a concert or anything like that, this is where probably you're gonna watch it. We watched the Trans-Siberian Orchestra at the T-Mobile Center. Had a really great time. Thought it was a great venue to watch something. My son also went to a couple of college basketball games. I don't think it was like the NCAA college basketball game, but it was it wasn't like the NCAA tournament, but it was an NCAA just regular college basketball game. Right next to this, you have Kansas City Power and Light. If you want to check out more about downtown, I do a vlog where we explore KCP&L. And Power and Light is a place where you can grab a place to eat. One of the best places to watch Chiefs games. So when the Chiefs are playing, Power and Light is going absolutely crazy. Let's move down here. This is the Kaufman Performing Arts Center. We haven't been inside yet, been near there very many times, but in August we are going to go see Bluey. So like I said, we have young kids, 4 and 3 now, and we're going to go there. We're going to see Bluey live. When the stuff that I've seen about it kind of looks like, like a really strange performance, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it, but I think my kids are really going to like it and really going to enjoy it. Let's move a little bit south of downtown and let's check out Union Station. So this is one of the most iconic centers in Kansas City. Union Station. You can see these sloped roofs. This is Science City. If you have kids that are under 10, maybe even over 10, they will love this area. This is the best interactive science museum in the area. If your kids like to do a bunch of interactive stuff, go and play and learn, this is the area that they want to go to. Union Station itself is a beautiful, beautiful train station. It's over 100 years old. This lawn right here is right in front of the Liberty Memorial, the World War I Museum and Memorial. You can come here for like a really cool view of the entire Kansas City skyline. I mean, you can kind of get it based on Google Earth, but you can stand right here. I kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies because if you look at my all-day vlog, I kind of start there and I'm sitting up on like one of these I guess this wall here, and they will definitely tell you to get off. That's what they told me. But here you have the World War I Museum, which is down below, and you can actually come up here. So you can actually come take an elevator ride up here and get an incredible view of the Kansas City Metro. Probably one of the best views. Behind here, you have the Federal Reserve and the Money Museum. This is, I have 2 or 3 clients that actually have jobs here. So this is the Federal Reserve Bank, and then Penn Valley Park, which is a really great area. Especially we like this off-leash dog park. If you don't want to pay for Barquet, like I said before, you can come here. Now, if you move directly west of that, you can see right here. Here's another, and again in this view, it's being built, but it's built and operating right now. This is the area where it's Penway Point and the Casey Wheel. So you'll see a big wheel. I've also heard criticism online that this may not be the best location for the wheel because you don't have the best views of Kansas City. We've been a few times and we think it's great. We think it's totally fine. So let's zoom out. That was just a very quick tour of downtown. Some of the things that you might want to do that. Again, we have a fuller tour here. So let's move a little bit south. Okay, let's look at Midtown. Let's look at Maintown. But before that, let's talk a little bit about the expansion that's happening in Kansas City. So they are building the streetcar, which is basically a free kind of tram and trolley. They're building it from downtown, and they're coming all the way down to the Country Club Plaza down this area here. So that's going to be happening, and that's probably going to be done within the next few years. Depending on when you're watching this, it may already be done. Before we head to Midtown, we have to check out the Crossroads. So Crossroads is right below the Kauffman Performing Arts Center. You can see kind of why, because the roads definitely definitely when you're driving in the Crossroads, you're gonna want to just check. There's kind of a bunch of weird turns in here just because of how the roads kind of go here. But there's a bunch of cool eateries, a bunch of there's climbing gyms, there's CrossFit gyms, there's all sorts of things to do in the Crossroads. Especially if you're kind of like a young kind of hipster person. For us, we don't go to Crossroads that much. Once in a while, I'll go up there, probably grab lunch, but that's about it. Okay, now we're located in the kind of Midtown Westport area. Both Midtown and Westport are, when we go down there, what we like to do is that there's a lot of interesting, really cool bookshops. KU Medical Center is like right on the Kansas side. I would say is right next to the Midtown Westport area. This is called like kind of the Volker neighborhood. There's a really cool bookshop here called Prospero's. Let's see if we can find it here. Yep, here it is. So this is a really, really neat bookshop. I would highly recommend you come to Prospero's. I do feature it in one of my vlogs here. It's a super cool, really trendy bookstore where you can find a bunch of hidden gems. And then the University of Kansas Health Center. This is probably, I would say, I'm not a hospital expert, but this is on the Kansas side. You can see the Kansas state line runs right through here. So just on the Kansas side, probably the most prestigious hospital in the area. Again, I'm not a hospital expert, but that's just kind of relaying what I've heard. So moving down here, we're going to the Midtown area. So Midtown is where we spend most of our time because we live in Midtown. Now, when you're talking about these definitions of what's Midtown, what's downtown, what's Westport, what's Crossroads, I know for Midtown, historically they have different definitions from what it is now. So Google will say Midtown ends right about here. This is MLK Boulevard, and everything below Midtown is South Kansas City. I think Midtown goes all the way down to 55th. That's typically what I refer to when I talk about Midtown. So I would say 55th is kind of all the way down here. Okay, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not going to quibble about it or get too upset about it. But you have a couple things here that you want to point out with Midtown. So this is the Country Club Plaza, really Spanish-inspired shopping center area. We never shop here, but we do come here sometimes to walk around. A lot of great dining, a lot of great just places to walk around. Unfortunately, it's not covered. So you can, it gets really cold if you come here during the winter or really hot during the summer. Mill Creek Park. This is a very Mill Creek Gillum Park. Mill Creek Park and Gillum Park, which is a little bit more up here. Long kind of narrow parks are very common in Midtown. You also have the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art. Let me see if I can find what my kids always point out here is this is really flat, but this is a spider sculpture. So when we drive past here, they're always like looking at the spider and they always point that out. And then here you have Nelson Atkins. So you've got the iconic shuttlecocks right here. And then this is like a world-class art museum that is located right in the middle of Kansas City and is completely free. If you don't want to go inside, walking around the Sculpture Park is really cool. You've got like a tree made of metal. You've got these areas that you can have your kiddos walk around. It's a hoot. So I would highly recommend if you're just here for a weekend, come to the Nelson Atkins. You will not regret it. This is a secret gem that we go to a lot. This is Kaufman Legacy Park. This is a great bike trail. If you have kids and you just want to bike, it's like half a mile, maybe quarter of a mile. I don't know exactly. But if you just want to bike a kind of short, easy trail with not a lot of hills, Kaufman Legacy Park is a great place to take your kids. Speaking of parks, can't mention parks without mentioning probably our most iconic Kansas City park is the Jacob Loose Park. Houses around here are going to be in the millions. These are like estates here. So if you have that kind of cash, you can get into this area right near Loose Park. This is South Plaza. But if you don't, then you can still find, something around a little bit farther out from Loose Park for a lot less. So we spent quite a bit of time covering like the activities in Midtown. Let's cover the areas around South Kansas City, and let me just give you an idea of what's around here. So you come out here, Kansas City Zoo and Aquarium, really fantastic. They just opened the aquarium. There's a bunch of big sharks, a really awesome viewing field that you can have your kids view. So would recommend a trip there if you live around here. I would be looking up the crime statistics. I've done a lot of videos about the crime statistics because when you're talking about crime in Kansas City, most of it is located on the Missouri side, south of the river. That's going to be something to remember. If you're looking at higher crime areas, just the areas around here, I would be looking at the crime statistics. I can't steer you, so I've done a lot of videos about what other people think, but I really can't give you like my own opinion because as a realtor, I can't, lose my license because I'm accused of telling somebody to move to an area because of crime or what have you. Okay, so you can see as we go farther south, you have Grandview, which is another city that's almost entirely surrounded by Kansas City. So Grandview is a large area right here. Probably estimate, maybe 15, 20,000 people live in Grandview. You also have Raytown, not to be confused with Raymore, which we're going to look at in a little bit. Raytown is, again, another city that's completely surrounded by KC. And Raymore is down here too. This is, I would say it's a higher price point area. Raymore is. You have Belton too. That is not going to be as high price point. But you also have Loch Lloyd, which is right next to Belton. This is where Patrick Mahomes lives. He recently built a house. He moved from like South Plaza, like way up here, all the way down here. I think he has like a golf course on his land now. So he's way out here, kind of on the outskirts of Kansas City now. But you have Belton, you have Raymore, and then we've got to get to Lee Summit. Lee Summit is, I would say, if you're looking at Jackson County, maybe one of the more desirable areas to live in because you have a good school system. So the schools in Kansas City, Missouri proper, unfortunately in Jackson County below the river, are going to not be great. If you're going to live down here, a lot of people would say, and this is just relaying other people's information, is to budget for either budget for private school, do homeschool. We do homeschool. It's getting better, and there's a lot of people pulling for it to get better, but it's not there yet. I think they still have their accreditation, but I know they kind of go back and forth with losing their accreditation and not. Lee Summit is a pretty solid school system that a lot of people desire. There's a ton of new builds going on here. Greenwood is a city that is right next to Lee Summit. Not as much going on there because you can see a lot of the activity is located right here in Lee Summit. And then we're going to start getting out to kind of the boonies here. You got Blue Springs, which is the latest list that I found was actually the second highest ranked school system according to a website called niche.com. You can look that up yourself. You got Grain Valley and Oak Grove. I would say these are very similar areas in the metro area. And then Odessa, which I would say is like right, I'd say it's the edge of the metro. Concordia is definitely not Kansas City anymore, but people in Odessa would probably still say they live in Kansas City. So you've got a lot of smaller areas like Pleasant Hill and Lone Jack. If you live out here, then you can really expect kind of small town, maybe like one convenience store. Pleasant Hill is a little bit bigger. Just sold a house in Kingsville, and there's really like $1 General, a gas station, and like that's really about it. There's not really much else out there. So all I really know about Warrensburg, never sold a house out here. Been out here a few times because there's a university out here, and there's one of the KC Metro area's best courses is out here. Warrensburg, there's a course called Mules National that a lot of people like to play. If you don't like to golf, maybe this doesn't matter. You can skip to the next part. But if you do like to golf, Mules National Golf Course is one of the best in the Kansas City metro area, within an hour of the KC Metro. Harrisonville is another town that's very similar to Warrensburg. Again, if you want land, if you want cheaper housing than in the heart of Kansas City, Harrisonville is a great place to consider. Okay, so that's basically all the Missouri side. Let's hop over to the Kansas side. All right, so let's start up top again. This is not we're going to start up north and work our way down. This is the Northland. This is the Missouri Northland. Up here, I would say Leavenworth and maybe Atchison. I probably wouldn't consider Atchison, but definitely Leavenworth I would consider as part of the Kansas City Metro. If you don't know anything about Leavenworth, it consistently shows up on our list of like areas that are growing year to year. So either the real estate prices keep going up and up and up because people want to move there. The attraction with Leavenworth is you have Fort Leavenworth up here. So Fort Leavenworth is a military base. A lot of people move there, and they decide, hey, after they serve their time there, they decide, hey, we want to stay in Leavenworth because it's a nice town, and so they move into Leavenworth. Okay, so with Leavenworth, there's also a penitentiary. This is the U.S. Penitentiary in Leavenworth. Why bring that up? Because it brings a lot of jobs, and it brings a lot of people. So a lot of people come here to work, and they live and play in Leavenworth proper. You also have a VA medical center in Leavenworth. I have a couple clients that are actually only one client that is working there right now. And then Lansing is a small town that I think because Leavenworth is growing so much, a lot of people, what's happening is these areas that were once like on the outskirts of Kansas City are growing to the point where people are saying, hey, this no longer feels like a small town anymore. I would like to move to an area where we recapture that small town feel. So people are moving out to areas like Lansing. Lansing is an area that year over year is growing a lot in popularity and in house prices. The housing prices are reflecting that. So let's move to the smaller Kansas City and let's check this out. Okay, Kansas City, Kansas. We talked about Platte County up here. We talked about Clay County over here in Jackson County. Kansas City, Kansas is located in Wyandotte County. Wyandotte County is this large county here that includes a little bit of Bonner Springs down here. Bonner Springs, fun fact, is located in 3 counties. It's Leavenworth County, which is way up here. We're going to get to here. It's a little bit is in Johnson County, and a little bit is in Wyandotte County. Most of Wyandotte County, though, is Kansas City, Kansas. So what's so great about Kansas City, Kansas? This is I would say, probably more well-known Kansas City because a lot of people who say Kansas City are going to assume Kansas City, Kansas. That's not true. Again, like I said, the more popular Kansas City is Kansas City, Missouri. Not that it's a popularity contest, but it's 2 cities and 2 states sharing one name. So it's a little bit confusing. But Kansas City, you got a lot of really cool areas. One of my favorite areas that I don't hear anybody talking about is Caw Point Park. If you come down here to Caw Point, you have really, really fantastic views of the Kansas City downtown area. So let's turn yourself here. So you've got an awesome view, like right on the edge of where the Missouri and the Kansas River meet right here. I do, check it out. And if you want more information about Caw Point Park, check out our Kansas City, Kansas vlog tour. But this is a really cool area that I don't think a lot of people necessarily go to at all. So right next to Caw Point Park in this area, this is the West Bottoms. Most of it is located in Missouri. I should mention that too. You have First Fridays. It's basically a festival on the first Friday of every month. Some of the West Bottoms is in Kansas. There's just a stadium there. I don't know exactly what the stadium is for. I think this is stadium, like it's called Hy-Vee Arena. I don't know who plays there. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, so we're going to go down here. This is Strawberry Hill. This is a very trendy, up-and-coming area in Kansas City, Kansas. A lot of the houses here, if you buy a house in Strawberry Hill, you can see how close these houses are crammed together. I just showed, yeah, it's one of these houses on this row here. So what Kansas City, Kansas is known for is you've got incredible Hispanic food, El Salvadorian food, Mexican food. You've also got affordable housing that is growing quite a bit. And then you have a lot of diversity in Kansas City, Kansas. Not only diversity of people, but diversity of housing. The further out you get beyond this loop of the 635, the more you can find some land. You can go out to areas out here. I've seen you get 1 or 2 acres out towards Wyandotte County Lake Park. There's this KCK Community College here. This is, I think, State Line Avenue. And then I think parallel to State Line is a street called Parallel. But really a lot of the attraction here in KCK is going to be this area, the Legends Outlets. Another large shopping area right next to the Kansas Speedway. I don't know anything about NASCAR, but I think they do run a NASCAR event out there. Children's Mercy Park is where the Kansas City Sporting KC plays. So this is our MLS team. And then right around here is the Legends Outlets. This is a large, really large outdoor shopping area that you can come and visit and frequent if you want to do that. For us, we don't really shop all that much unless we're doing the Facebook Marketplace, picking up something at 10 o'clock at night. So we don't typically shop at these areas, but we will go out to eat and hang out in these areas because they're cool places. Okay, so right outside the Legends Outlets, I just, as a golfer, I just want to mention this. You may not care, but if you do golf and you do watch golf YouTube, this is Sunflower Hills Golf Course, and if you know the channel called Good, they started right out here, out in Kansas City, Kansas. I think one of their first videos was shot right at Sunflower Hills. It's a good track to play, fun track to play. Would highly recommend it. So coming farther out here, you have an area called Baser. Baser is going to get out there are some subdivisions in Baser. Sold a house right in this subdivision right here not too long ago. I think it was 2023 last year. Solid school districts. If you want some land, you're going to come out to Baser. Tonganoxie. So one interesting thing about Tonganoxie is there's this kind of myth that I found online where if a tornado starts, it's going to break up around Tonganoxie, and they call it the Tonganoxie split. Whether that's true or not, I'm not a meteorologist. I know that I've read a couple articles where they mention that metro areas do break up tornadoes because of the heat generated from all the lights, but don't take that to the bank at all because I do not know what I'm talking about there. Okay, so when we come down here, once we cross the Kansas River, mostly what we're in Johnson County. So we did Wyandotte County up here, Leavenworth County over here. Down here, this is Johnson County. Now let me zoom out. I'm going to get you an estimate of where Johnson County is. So it definitely includes DeSoto, includes some of Bonner Springs, Lake Quivira, Shawnee, Overland Park. Down here, oops, that's not a great line. Stillwell. And it kind of cuts off right here in Spring Hill. It's kind of tilted, so I hope this is largely accurate. I think this is largely accurate. The 3D kind of makes it a little bit off. But this is Johnson County. I would say highest price point county in the area, that's Johnson County. The reason why is because you have the best school district here. So if you go right now and you just typed in like best Kansas City schools, I guarantee you, a lot of them would be located in this area right here, Johnson County. So it's attractive to families, it's attractive to people who are looking to retire, it's attractive to people who are hoping to preserve good property value. I would say if you want to keep your property value high, then consider buying in Overland Park, consider buying in Leawood, consider buying in Shawnee. For some reason, Lenexa loses value year over year. But Olathe is a solid place to buy too. Gardner, these areas are all great. But let's look at Johnson County and let's look at the biggest city in Johnson County. In fact, we could do a whole vlog on this area itself. This is Overland Park. You can see its massive land area is Overland Park, and you could be so far like north in Overland Park, still be considered OP, and then you could be way down here almost in Stillwell and still be considered Overland Park. It's a large area. The Blue Valley School District is in Overland Park, and it's the most desirable school district to get into in Kansas City. It's typically ranked number 1. Niche.com always ranks Overland Park as like one of the best areas in the United States to buy a home. Whether that's true or not, you can believe what you want. But I would definitely not overlook Overland Park if you're looking to move to Kansas City. I would also not overlook these smaller areas too, like Roland Park. You can still get a great house in Roland Park for $300,000. Okay, you can get a fantastic house in Mission I just showed one for $350,000. You probably can't get that in Fairway. Fairway is a super desirable, super sought after area, or Mission Hills. You probably can't get that. You can buy, $1 million house in Mission Hills if you want, but you can't get anything for like $350,000. In 2022, I know that's 2 years ago now, this area called Prairie Village was voted as the best area in the United States to buy a home. Or I think Zillow actually, I don't know if that was it. I think it was like the most searched Zillow area in the United States. I don't know how they come up with these metrics, but they do. So Prairie Village is a really cool, really trendy area. We come out here because the homes are beautiful. We come out here because the parks are always really nice and well maintained. There's a park down here called Meadowbrook Park that our kids like to frequent. It's got a great splash pad. Leawood is again consistently rated as one of the best areas to buy a home in Kansas City. You can see it's a pretty large, skinny area. To get into Leawood, you starts at, I would say, estimate $400,000 and up. You can easily spend well over $1 million to get into Leawood. My favorite areas of Johnson County, though, are like these little areas right here, like Fairway, Mission Hills, Westwood. Westwood is a super cool area. Good luck getting in there for less than, $500,000. But it's right next to, you can see it's right next to Country Club Plaza, right across the state line. Westwood Hills, also super desirable. So if I lived in Kansas and I could afford it, I would probably live somewhere in like Westwood, maybe Westwood Hills, maybe Leawood if I could. So if money isn't an option, again, if you have 500,000 plus, you can get into these areas. You may not get the biggest house, and your money will go farther if you go to a different part of the metro area, but you can get into these areas. So let's follow 635 and let's go down here. So if we follow 635, we get to Lenexa. Lenexa is, like I said, unfortunately, it's one of the areas that, at least in 2024, has consistently lost value year over year. Do I know why? Not necessarily, because you have a ton of things to do in Lenexa and a ton of really beautiful houses in Lenexa. So I'm not saying that as a knock to Lenexa at all. I think Lenexa is a fantastic area to live, and we would 100% live in Lenexa. But for some reason, there's property there is losing value. It's lost value in quarter 1 of 2024 compared to quarter 1 of 2023. And in quarter 2, the same kind of trend has been happening. So why? Doesn't make sense to me. Okay, DeSoto is kind of on the edge of the metro. I would say Eudora is also the metro as well, but DeSoto is out here. One of the things to know about DeSoto is they are building, they being Panasonic, building a very large power plant that's going to employ a ton of people out in DeSoto, and that power plant is going to make a lot of the EV batteries. So you come down here, follow 35, and you look at Olathe. Olathe is now, for a lot of people who don't know this, call it Olathe. It's not Olathe, it's Olathe. So just insider tip. Also, when you talk about that, Carney, even though it's spelled Kearney, it's spelled Carney, like the circus Carney. I don't know if that's mean to people, but that's just how you pronounce it. That's one of the ways I remember it. Olathe is another area, great school district, very similar to Overland Park. You probably will pay less to get into Olathe than you will Overland Park because of the proximity. You can see it's just a little bit farther out from downtown KC. If you keep following down here, you have Gardner. Gardner is another area where there's a lot of building going on. Let's see. The last house I sold in Gardner went for $285. I think it's just a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house out in Gardner. And then Spring Hill is very similar to Gardner. It's just off of a different highway. It's got a ton of new builds here, but you're going to be quite a ways if you're somebody who wants to do stuff in the downtown. You're going to be quite a ways out here. in Spring Hill. It's probably going to take you a good 45 minutes, maybe close to an hour to get into downtown Kansas City. If you are enjoying this video and finding that it provides value to you, not only should you like this video and subscribe, but you should also reach out, especially if you're considering moving to Kansas City. 816-4MOVE-KC is our team's number. We would love to assist you in moving to Kansas City. We have a lot of agents ready, willing, and able to help you to relocate here to Kansas City. 816-4MOVE-KC, or send me an email. We will get back to you within the day. So you stuck around to the end. I'm just going to give you quick recommendations of the houses that you could get for $100,000 all the way up to $1 million. Okay, so you stuck around until the end, and we are looking at houses. Let's just say your budget is up to $100,000. You only have about 300 choices here, but I'm just going to give you a quick recommendation. If you're a family and you want to live somewhere with a decent-ish school district, I might consider moving out here to Warrensburg. Like I said, it's kind of close to the edge of the metro. Let's see what this house is for $95,000. I mean, definitely any house for $100,000 is going to need some work, but $95,000 out in Warrensburg, you could get something like this. This is just kind of to demonstrate to you the affordability of the Kansas City metro. So let's just double your budget, and let's just say you have $200,000 to spend. Now you have a lot more options. Okay, you have options peppered all over Kansas City. If you have $200,000, I would say you can just sneak into the Northland. Okay, so let's see this 3-bed 1-bath in Gladstone. This is a typical build in Gladstone, built in the 50s. I think it's almost 1960 when this is built. You're not going to get a ton, but this is about 1,000 square feet. I think it's on a slab, no basement, small kitchen, but that's kind of what you're going to get for $200,000. Now, a lot of things really start opening up to you. You can get into Liberty. You can get a lot of different places in the Northland. You can get into Parkville, sneak into Parkville for $300,000. But I would say you're really starting to go to bat in this area of Overland Park. You have a few areas right here. You have a few areas right here where if you can pay $300,000, you can get into Johnson County. Like this is a house in Mission. Oh, it's kind of funny shaped house, but it looks really clean. Looks really nice. So $300,000. This is $299. $300,000 can get you into Johnson County. So if you have that or above, I would consider Johnson County. Okay, so let's just say you have $400,000. I think $400,000 is a really good kind of breakthrough area where you can get some land. I think if you were looking for like an acre, maybe 2 acres, let's just come out here. Let's just click on this house in Holt, and let's just see what they've got. Okay, this is a house that sits on 3.4 acres. Pretty decent sized lot. You got a barn here. Ooh, hot tub. Out above ground pool. Let's see if we can find a picture of, yeah, you've got some land and you've got some outbuildings here. So that I would say, $400,000, you can start getting some land. Okay, so with $500,000, I think you can start getting into some new builds. Let's just look at some new builds out here in like Lee Summit. Okay, this one's not quite a new build, but this one is right at $450,000. I think it's built in 2022. So this can get you into Lee Summit for $450,000. So right at 500, you might be able to sneak in a little bit less, especially if it's been on the market for a while. Okay, so now if you're going up to $600,000, you're starting to approach the luxury market. If you have $600K, I would try to get into Leawood. So you got 530 here. Let's try to find one. 545. Okay, $600,000. This is Prairie Village, Leawood area. You've got, I wouldn't say this is like luxury per se, but this is approaching the luxury market. But you've got, almost every single area in Kansas City open to you. Of course, you don't have to spend, $600,000. This is kind of a little bit more beat up house that I would expect for $600. But let's look at this one for $550 in Overland Park. Yeah, that's kind of what I would expect. This looks like a pretty nice, well-maintained house. If you like these kind of decorations here, if you got this area, yeah, I would definitely, I would definitely say you can get land if you want. You can get a new build if you want. You basically have anything that you want. But I would say if you're in this area, I would try to get into Midtown. I like this area. It's right next to the plaza. So $795 will get you this really cool area. I'll bet you this is a really cool house. Yeah, this is right next to the plaza. A little bit older, a little bit outdated, but for $795, you're going to be right in the thick of things and right in the heart of Kansas City. So I would 100%, recommend these areas. I would even think like if we could find an area in Brookside. Let's go to Brookside. Yeah, you got this really cool looking historic brick house. It's a 5-bed, 4-bath. Oh yeah, it's really, really, really large. 4,600 square feet on a quarter of an acre here. So this is what $715,000 gets you. So let's look at $1 million plus. So obviously with $1 million plus, you can go anywhere you want, right? You can get into Fairway. You've got $1 million house here. Let's take a look at. Oh, this is a new build. Here's one in Mission Hills. Yeah, this is a really cool looking house. I've actually seen this house not in person. I've seen it on the market because I just like looking at really high price point houses. So you got this beautiful 100-year-old house in Mission Hills, right in the thick of like the heart of Kansas City. Let's see, where is this one? Yeah, I mean this is right next to everything. You can get into a suite. This one has been on the market like literally forever. This is right off Ward Parkway. You might be wondering, okay, what's the highest price point house in Kansas City? All right, it's this one right here. This one on Lake Winnebago, right on the lake. This is crazy. I think they wanted like 14 million for this one. Now they've dropped it down to 12. So if you've got 12 million, yeah, give me a call and we can go buy this house together. That'd be crazy. But this house has, I think, like 6 bathrooms, 5 beds. It's like built out of, this granite that's probably sourced from somewhere really cool. It's been on the market for a while, as any $12 million house would be, but that's the highest price point house in Kansas City. So if you like this video, YouTube also thinks you will like this video as well.